Well, guess what? Today I have a very special treat on the podcast. It is an interview that I did with Meghann Dawson of the Becoming Messy podcast. She interviewed me about my story and what I do, and it was so much fun that I would love to give this replay to you as a gift. So enjoy this, and I will see you in the next episode.
Today's episode of Becoming is Messy, we're diving into the intersection of motherhood, mental health, and nutritional healing. Our guest, Lori Hammer, is a neuronutrition expert, a mom, and the founder of the Calm Mom Method. After battling an eating disorder, anxiety, and depression, Lori discovered amino acid therapy, and it changed everything. Now, she helps overwhelmed moms reclaim their energy, calm their anxiety, and feel like themselves again. If you've ever felt like traditional approaches just aren't cutting it, and you're ready to nourish your brain, not just manage symptoms, then this episode is for you. Lori, welcome to Becoming is Messy. I'm so excited to have you on.
Thank you, Megan. I'm really, really happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, help us just set the stage for today's chat. In just a few words, how would you describe this current season of your life?
This is a transition season, so or maybe just new beginnings. I'm not really sure. My youngest is graduating, and I just became a new grandma, and so life just looks different right now.
Well, congratulations. A
Thank
lot of
you.
big stuff going on.
Yeah.
So now take us back. Every becoming story has its mix of twists and turns. What were some of the twists and turns that brought you to this season?
Oh my goodness, do we have all day? Right. You mentioned the eating disorder, so I'll just start there. So
Perfect.
I developed an eating disorder when I was kind of like late junior high, early high school age. And then it got really bad when I went to college. So, back then we didn't really deal with things. No counseling, no nothing, just went to college. And then I discovered counseling. And so I thought, well, I need counseling because I don't want to binge and purge every single day. Well, I was talking and talking and talking. And honestly, things got worse when I went into counseling. It's like I didn't really feel like I needed to deal with all the stuff that I'm supposed to deal with. And then trying to deal with all that stuff made the eating disorder worse. But during that time, I was in nursing school and I had this beautiful professor, and I thought I wanted to be in psychiatric nursing. And so she was my psychiatric nursing professor, and I just loved her to pieces. And so she ended up trying to help me get into an eating disorder program because I was binging and purging multiple times a day. I was passing out, I was having seizures, I was just bad. And I couldn't get into a program because my weight wasn't low enough because I was bulimic. And so most bulimics are kind of the same weight I am now. And I wasn't technically suicidal. And so we couldn't get into anything. And so here goes in the cycle again, white knuckling through everything, trying not to binge, trying not to purge. And then I thought, well, gosh, if I just move away, Megan, then life will just get so much better. So I met a boy and I moved away. And I thought, surely this will be better. But it didn't get any better. It just got more challenging. But thankfully, while I was living in Omaha, Nebraska, the same nursing professor, she sent me an article on an outpatient program in Mill Valley, California. And their mantra was, you're addicted to what you're allergic to. And they were talking about food cravings and the binging purging cycle. And I'm like, well, this makes sense because everything I'm binging and purging on is gluten, dairy, and sugar.
Yep.
Anyway, so I called out there and they're like, yes, come out. We can definitely help you. So I went out there. And yes, they definitely did help me. And that was my first dive into this functional nutrition world. And I have fallen in love with it since. So I found out I had celiac disease and I was definitely sensitive to, dairy and other foods and adrenal issues and yeast overgrowth and you name it. So we figured it out. And it helped me balance my brain with amino acid therapy. And so that cut the cravings, that cut the binging and purge cycle because they were able to target neurotransmitters in my brain with specific amino acids. And it literally, Megan, saved my life. So, that's why I'm so passionate about it today. And I see so many lives transformed. And that was back in 1996. So me personally, dealing with amino acid therapy, changing my habits, and then becoming a practitioner later is just been life-changing. And so then you fast forward, you have kids, they have issues. I've had a cancer diagnosis, a really rare cancer diagnosis, and I was the healthiest person I knew. So why on earth would I ever get cancer? And my daughter, who's graduating now, she was just 5 months old when I received that diagnosis. And so thankfully, I was radically healed. I received a miracle from God. And then He opened doors for me to, dive deeper into this health paradigm that I'm in right now. And so then, I added that to my repertoire of things that I help people with. So it's been a journey.
Yes, quite a journey. You used one term when you first kind of got connected with the clinic that finally did help you, and you
Mhm.
mentioned kind of getting connected and finally learning about,
Functional
functional
nutrition.
nutrition.
Yeah.
Functional nutrition. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, in your words, how would you describe functional nutrition?
Well, because it's more than just diet, it's
Yeah.
using targeted supplementation and doing
Yeah.
specific testing to where's the root cause issue. And so that's what we're always
Yes, yeah.
diving after. So, like, there was a yeast issue, I would have gone to the doctor and they would have never ever discovered that, you know?
Yep, yep.
So it was that type of thing, more than just food.
Yeah, okay,
And
got
using
it.
food as medicine. So it's just not changing your diet, but very targeted, specific kinds of food to
Okay, got
heal
it.
your body.
So
Yeah.
makes sense. So bring us to then along that journey, how did you transition from leveraging what you've been learning for yourself? How did you then kind of, lean into starting to be able to share that with other people?
Yeah, so I went back to school and got lots of certifications. I've done lots of trainings over the years so that I can use that knowledge for other people. So just it's been a lifelong learning process.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to ask you some questions just about your philosophy, things that I read that stood
Yeah.
out to me. And one of the things was, as somebody like me that has dealt with anxiety and is on medication for that, I saw somewhere that anxiety isn't just a chemical imbalance, but a sign of deficiency. And I'm just curious, how would you break that down a bit? And what does that deficiency potentially signal?
Right. So my mantra is you can't medicate away a nutrient deficiency. Your brain requires a lot of nutrition. And we're in such a state in our society right now that we're very, very depleted from head to toe. And so that does include our brain. Most of the time, when I see people and they're on a medication or they're struggling with anxiety and depression, it's a neurotransmitter issue, not a chemical imbalance. So their neurotransmitters are depleted. So if we fix that depletion, so we'll use serotonin as an example, because so many people are on SSRIs, right? So serotonin is your sunshine neurotransmitter. So when you have enough serotonin, you feel happy and joyful inside, right? You
Yep,
just feel
yep.
yummy and good. And so I use a specific questionnaire that lays out symptoms for this, and we can decide, are you deficient in serotonin? Is there an imbalance there? Not a chemical imbalance, but a nutrient imbalance, right? And so then we give your brain that specific nutrition, whether it's with or L-tryptophan, and we change the diet to target serotonin. And then all of a sudden, your body knows how to make serotonin. We're designed to make that. We just have to give it the right tools and all of the cofactors that it needs in there.
You mentioned serotonin. Let's talk about dopamine and GABA. What
For
does it
sure.
feel like to have properly balanced dopamine and GABA and serotonin in your body?
Yeah, so like I said, serotonin is your sunshine. So life is
Yes,
good
yes.
and happy. GABA is like you can take a deep breath and you let it out, and
Yeah,
you can respond appropriately to stress. Stress is chemical,
of
physical,
course.
and emotional in the body. And we're always going to have that around us, but it's our response to it. And so GABA is one of our first line of defenses for responding to stress. And so it allows us just to see things a little differently, to not feel overwhelmed, to not feel overburdened by things. You can just relax. Your shoulders aren't up by your ears anymore, kind of thing.
Yes.
Then we have our endorphins. Our endorphins are like that inner joy, that inner comfort. So if you're like kind of like putting on a big yummy sweater and curling up with a good book, that's how you feel. You just feel
Yes.
that inner joy, like, this is so good, right? And then we have our catecholamines, our dopamine, and that helps us to be able to focus and to see things, the glass half full instead of half empty. We can concentrate on a specific task. A lot of women who have low dopamine, catecholamines are like, I just don't even care to do anything. I have zero
Mm,
motivation
hmm.
to look at my house and go, I just can't deal with it, right? So when we boost that, that's helpful. And then we get into the glucose regulation. And so we want to make sure that your glucose is balanced. And so I use a lot of glutamine, specific minerals, and those kind of things to balance that glucose so that it doesn't go up and down. So then your brain isn't going up and down, right? Your mood isn't
Yep.
going up and down because you got all these glucose issues, which deplete your
Yes.
neurotransmitters. So once you have all of those balanced, you should feel like just life is good. There's going to be things that come and go, but you're not going to be
Yeah.
completely shaken by them.
Yeah. So when there is an imbalance, if somebody starts amino acid therapy, what does that look like? What does that entail?
Well, your first appointment with me is about an hour and a half to 2 hours long. I send you an amino acid kit in the mail. So it's a sample of 9 different amino acids. And then we get a really good health history. And then we start trialing the amino acids. And literally, Megan, we take like one capsule of an amino acid, we put it under the tongue, the powder under the tongue, and then we stare at each other for like 2 minutes.
Interesting.
I know. And then because
Yeah.
it works that fast in the brain.
Wow. So neat. I'm brand new to learning about this. So that's fascinating.
Yeah, so then you can say, oh, I feel something different. Maybe it's your brain feels lighter, you feel happier, the green is greener, the blue is bluer.
Yeah.
Lots of different things can happen, and you may not respond to it at all, and then we'll just try a different one, or we'll try another dose of that same one, depending on what your symptoms are and what we assessed in that intake.
Awesome. So then in addition to the amino acid therapy, then how does kind of diet come into play
Yeah,
along the
diet is
along the
always
line with your
foundational.
process, right? Yes.
Yeah, yeah, we have to hone in on the diet, but I love to balance the
Yes.
brain first because that makes dietary
Okay.
changes easier. Because then you're not
Yes.
so overwhelmed, you're not craving, you're not all these things.
Yes.
And so
Okay,
then you're like,
got it.
I can make
Yeah.
diet changes now. And then once you make your diet changes, then you can start exercise, lifestyle changes and the other things that we need to do. Because when you balance the brain first, everything below the neck gets easier to deal with.
Yes, I'm so excited for this because when you were describing your eating disorder and just trying to find somebody to help you,
Yeah.
trying, all the work that you had to do just to get in to be helped and try to come up with
Mhm.
solutions. A big part of my listeners' background is chronic trauma. And
Right?
I feel like
Yeah.
similarly, it's really common for us to be constantly searching for
Yeah.
something to help us. It's not something that, talk therapy alone is going to
Yeah.
solve. It's a holistic approach that's needed. Excited just to learn something new, and I'm intrigued to learn more about this. So I
Good.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, taking it to the people that you are helping as well as your own journey, are there some things that stand out that you've witnessed in the transformation of people that kind of leverage this as part of their own healing journey? What does the transformation look like for people that go this route?
Yeah, I mean, it can vary wildly, of course, because I have a lot of women that come in with hormone imbalances and
Yeah.
sleeping issues and all those kind of things. So the goal when we're doing amino acid therapy is to get them feeling good, in the brain. And so they look at life differently. They're not overwhelmed, they're not anxious, and then we can dive into what's left, right?
Mm.
But some of the most amazing things just even happen in my office. People will be like, this heavy weight feels like it just got lifted off my chest, right? And
Yeah.
so
Yep.
the goal is to bring hope. And so when you're done with that first appointment with me, I want you to know that there's hope. That makes it easier to make the other transitions. But I have a lot of women. Well, I'll use one example. I had a lady that her husband wouldn't let her drive after noon because she was so tired and so exhausted she would fall asleep.
Yeah.
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 After 3 months, she called me. She's like, I drove 6 hours by myself in the afternoon today. And
Wow.
that's life changing, right?
Of
So,
course. Yes.
I mean, you're not falling asleep on your way to your kid's ball game and those kind of
Yeah.
things. So it makes a huge difference. Or people start sleeping better at night. Or I just had a couple in here the other day, and he's like, she's nicer now.
Yeah.
It literally helps marriages, right? Because when
Yeah,
you're
of
not
course.
overwhelmed and angsty and testy and all those things, you're starting to respond. You're like, your kids aren't driving you nuts. It's not like chalk on a chalkboard when they're screaming at each other or playing
Yeah.
loud. The mom the other day, she's like, my kids just irritate me. They're not doing anything wrong. They're just being kids, right?
Yeah.
And a few days later, she'd been on the amino acids and she's like, I'm not as irritated anymore. I don't
Yeah.
feel like they're like scratching my nervous system. And this same mom, actually, this is how a lovely amino acid therapy is. She's like, I had 2 kids before and I potty trained them, and that was exhausting and it was overwhelming. And I lost weight every time I tried to potty train. And she just did it with her 3rd child. And she's like, it wasn't a big deal at all. And we were done in 3 days,
Oh, yes.
you know,
Wow.
because her
Yes.
brain was calm.
Oh my gosh, you used the word hope there. And that's really one of the big motivations to do this podcast for me is really just sharing stories to meet people
Yeah.
where they're at and give them a little bit of hope that there is a better way, there's a path forward, and to be able to see those little instant improvements, Like I feel like to me, that's where big transformation comes from is just those
Yes.
initial early just some early wins to see that things can go in a better direction. So that's really
Oh,
cool.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Messies. Quick pause before we dive back in. If you're loving these conversations and want a little extra support on your own becoming journey, head over to MeghanDawson.com. You can sign up for my weekly email. It's like a little love note from the messy middle, filled with stories, tools, and truths to help you feel less alone. And if you're looking for personalized support, I've got a few spots open for one-to-one coaching. If that's been on your heart, let's talk. All right, back to the episode. Moms are such a big focus of your practice. Why are we so depleted? Like why us?
We give all of ourselves away. Let's just be honest.
Right?
Even the dog needs us, our husband needs us. Like we're constantly giving. And
Yeah.
we're pretty crappy about refilling our own bucket.
Yes.
Yeah. And so to be intentional about it. And I really feel like our society doesn't give us that opportunity or kind of tells us you don't need to fill your own bucket. You're supposed to just give, and give, and which is beautiful. And we need to take a step back and we need to nourish ourselves because, how many of you out there are eating off of your kids' plates and that's your supper?
Yeah, right?
You're not getting your 30 to 40 grams of protein that you need during that meal so that your brain actually functions so that you can sleep. Yeah, just so many different things. Us moms are just on the go all the time, and nobody can have a bad day without us.
Right?
Like we can have a bad day by ourselves, so even the dog has a bad day, or the cat pukes on the carpet, or whatever it might be. Like when you're in a bad mood, like everything around you is affected, and that depletes us even more because then we're like, good grief, can't you just be in a good mood?
Right? I know. How have we not evolved at this point to our bodies being able, it's by design, moms are, kind of inherently meant to do it all and take care and be the caregiver. Yet on the other hand, our bodies haven't adapted to be able to match all of that load that's on our shoulders. And so it's like, come on,
Well,
you'd think by now we'd evolve to that.
Too much out of our bodies. Let's just be honest.
That's so true.
We're not designed to sleep, to have 5 hours of sleep and like go as hard as we all go every single day. It's just we're not designed that way, and we shouldn't be doing that. We think we can.
Yeah. That's so true. You've mentioned some words that I think give insight to folks that help kind of point to be able to know when maybe there's an imbalance here, right? Talking about just that being on edge, being exhausted. Maybe not everybody has the means to go right to amino acid therapy. And so, for folks that just want to address it in maybe some smaller ways on their own, what are some things? Do you have any tips of how to just start doing better yourself and taking care?
Yeah, one of the biggest things that we just mentioned sleep. So guard your sleep, ladies. Guard your sleep.
Yeah, for sure.
Go to bed at the same time every single night. The laundry will still be there, so don't stay up to 2 a.m. doing the laundry. Ideally, you want to go to bed by 10. The more you sleep before midnight, the better results you're going to get hormonally, your brain, your energy, your adrenal function, and everything. So make sure you're going to bed before that midnight time, and 10 would be ideal. So set that bedtime alarm instead of your morning alarm. And then try to get up at the same time every morning and get out in the sunshine. Like sun is amazing for your mental state. So get out in that early morning sunlight, go for a walk, or at least walk out with your coffee in the morning, put your feet on the ground and stand in the sun if the weather is permitting, right? So, guarding your sleep, getting sunlight every single day. I recommend you go out morning, noon, and nighttime in the sun because it's called sun soaking. And that actually helps your circadian rhythm. It calms your brain, helps your neurotransmitters, and it doesn't cost anything, right? So, going to bed on time, sunshine, none of those cost anything. I would try your very best to get into 30, 40 grams of protein per meal and try to make most of that in animal protein because it's a complete protein. That's going to nourish your body more than anything else you could possibly do, right? And you want to make sure you digest it. So you might need to throw it into digestive enzyme in there. And then salt and water. Drink your really high quality filtered water and then get in some salt. This is like
Yeah.
spark plugs to your brain. And I don't mean like table salt. This is Redmond sea salt. And I literally keep this
Yeah.
on my desk. I stick my finger in it,
Oh,
I put it on my tongue, and it gives my brain a boost. So just think of salt as just keeping that electrical current going in your brain and all throughout your body.
yes, and that's so good to know because there's a name for the water when you put the good salt in and you let it kind of absorb overnight.
Sole.
Sole, yeah. So I've bought salt, like really good salt to be able to do that. But I love the
Hmm.
idea of just having it at your fingertips to be able
Yeah.
to get
Because then
once
you,
in a
you don't
while.
have to
Yeah.
make the water because you're like, oh,
Yes,
God, make
yes.
my water
That's
again.
right.
Just
Yeah.
dump it
Oh,
in
that's
a
so
jar,
good.
put it by your desk, and make it as easy as you possibly can.
Yes, that's right. For me, that's gold to be able to find easy tips to get what it needs.
Yeah.
So that's great. Yeah, so curious then, before I move on to my other question, kind of along this vein with just recommendations of what people can do, are there any, so you mentioned salt, are there any superfoods that everybody, could benefit from, or is it really more of like a personalized kind of what your body needs?
Yeah, I mean, you really need to take a look at just your basic food intake, your macros. So, how much protein
Yep.
you're getting in, and then what healthy fats are you using? Because you don't want to have corn oil, canola, soy, sunflower, safflower, rice bran oils.
Yep.
There's a few others, but because those will cause inflammation. So, we don't want brain
Hmm.
inflammation. So, watching your oils, if we're going to talk superfoods, we want to talk about what are we going to avoid? Because we could
Yep.
put in superfoods and still eat crappy. So,
Yes. Yep.
so getting in that really high quality protein, getting rid of those bad oils, and then, when we're talking about carbohydrates, we want to get out processed sugars. So avoiding those processed sugars, sticking with honey, maple syrup, maybe a little bit of stevia if you're going to have a sugar, and then stick with veggies. Just eat a nice round of good veggies. I eat a lot of greens. I love arugula. Arugula is really good for the brain, it's good for the heart. All of our mamas, because we're depleted, you want to get your heart boosted. And so arugula is a good green to help boost that heart and heal your digestive system.
Good to know. Well, you kind of led into my next question. You mentioned for you arugula. I was curious just what are some of your personal healthy habits? What does kind of a day in the life look like for you just to kind of keep maintain kind of that good
Yeah.
balance?
Yeah, so I walk 3 to 4 miles every morning with my dogs in the early morning
Hmm.
sunlight. And then I come back, and most of the time I'll fix myself like a little detox drink that I like. So I have a few things combined into that. And then I will often go sit out in the sun if it's a sunny day, put my feet on the ground and spend a few minutes drinking that. And then I get ready for my day. And I'm online a lot, with my clients. And so to keep myself boosted throughout the day, I have the salt at my desk, I keep hydrated. I know what I'm going to eat for lunch usually, so I kind of batch prep meals on the weekends. So, and I'm not fancy, ladies. Like I'm throwing like 8, 10 chicken breasts in my Instapot and I cook them. That's what I do. And I'll make a big batch of like taco meat so that we can have taco salads, and I might cook a roast. And so I always make sure we have plenty of protein cooked because you can always add lettuce, you can always cook your vegetables and all those kind of things. So I'm not a fancy cook at all. Not at all. Just ask my husband. But it's always good stuff. And then, like throughout the day, if I feel draggy, I'm taking my salt, I will stop and I'll do a little exercise in between clients. I'll do squats, I'll do push ups because you want to keep that brain going. And so you
Yep.
want to keep your levels up. And I'm in bed by 10 o'clock every night. I prefer 9:30. Usually it's 10 because I have an 18-year-old and they kind of turn on at 9:30. So they want to
That's
talk
so
for a
true.
while,
Yes.
right? Like you
Yep.
can't go to bed earlier
It's
than that.
so, yes. All of a sudden they're out of their room and it's on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're standing in your doorway and you're like, Mama.
Yeah, I have three teenagers, also one that is getting ready to go to college. The next 3 years, we'll have one after the other and then empty nest time. So it's
Yep.
a very busy
Aw.
time in our household.
Very busy.
Yes, yes. In a minute, I'm going to get to our rapid reel segment, which is just some
Okay.
quick questions to ask you to kind of get to know you a little bit better. Before we get there, is there anything that you're working on that you wanted to highlight? Anything we haven't talked about? Just wanted to give you a chance to be able to
Thank
add to things
you.
I might not have asked yet.
Yeah, so I have a couple exciting things. The biggest thing is I am transitioning to a group program for the amino acid therapy. So it's called the Calm Mom Academy, which is really
Mm.
exciting. So everything that I do one on one, we can do in a group setting. And then we'll have lots of fun in there. So I have lots of things planned, coming up like once a quarter. So if you're interested in that, just send me a message. Find me on Instagram, the Calm Mom Community. Send me a message. Tell me you heard it on here, and we'll chat about the Calm Mom Community and the Academy for sure. And I just released a keto cookbook. So you can
Oh,
find
cool.
that on my Instagram, Linktree stuff as well. So those are
Good.
some big things that are going on right now.
Oh, I can't wait to check out your cookbook. I have PCOS and pre-diabetes, so I feel like so
Oh,
that kind of diet is perfect for
yes,
me.
you
So
need
I'm
that kind of
excited to
diet.
check that out. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, awesome.
awesome.
Is the Calm Mom Academy, is that all done online?
It's all done online, and then I do
Okay, great.
2 live calls every single month. So you can come on live, ask me
Perfect.
questions, you get me, and you can always schedule one-on-one if you need to. There's an
Yeah,
option for that as
perfect.
well. But yeah, it's a fun community.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, all right. So, just a few more questions, some quick ones. I feel like we've covered some of these, but I'll still ask and see if you wanted to add anything. So, what's a food that instantly boosts your mood?
Oh, protein.
Protein, yes. One belief about health that you had to unlearn.
That it had to be hard.
Oh, yeah. All right. So, maybe this is taco meat. I don't know. What's your go to dinner when you're just too tired to cook?
Oh, totally tacos. Yeah.
Meat is magic,
Taco
I
meat is
tell you.
magic. Yeah, you just
Yes, I'm the same. I feel like we make actual tacos first, and then it becomes like five different meals throughout the
Oh
week.
yeah, you can throw it in a soup. You can put it on a
Yes,
salad. You can
yes,
put it in, almond flour tortillas and call it a quesadilla night. Yeah, it's
yes.
perfect.
So true. Okay, so the next one: fermented food, green juice, bone broth. Do you suggest any of the popular nutritional fads?
Ooh, bone broth I think is golden to the body.
Yeah.
So if you can make your own bone broth, yes, I love
Yes.
fermented foods and I do like green drinks as well. So
Okay.
I
All
like all
right.
three of those, but
All
I'm
right.
picky about which one. So
Of course,
yeah,
yeah. There's definitely ones in there. There's different rankings,
yeah.
but good to know. That's awesome.
Mhm.
All right, and the last one in this section, what's your favorite way to hit reset, mentally or physically?
Take a nap.
Take a nap. Oh, yes. Naps
Yeah,
and walks. I feel like,
nap.
you
Yeah,
can't go wrong, right?
you
Yeah,
can't.
well, it was so fun to have you on here. I have one final question. There might be somebody that's listening right now that's in kind of their own rock bottom moment.
Mhm.
And when you found yourself there,
Mm.
what's a piece of advice that you wish would have come sooner?
To just not give up hope because so many people when they're rock bottom like I've tried everything and you
Yeah,
haven't, right? You
yeah,
just haven't tried everything, you just haven't found the right thing for your body at this moment in time. And so your body is designed to heal. If we remove the interference and then we give it what it needs, it knows how to heal. And so you just need to find the right person to help you guide you there. Like in the beginning I was trying to piecemeal everything together on my own, and it wasn't until I actually went to see a practitioner and we like got super targeted. I'm like, oh, this is what it can feel like,
yeah.
to feel amazing and to have some guidance. And so I wish I would have known that sooner, it would have shortened my journey for sure.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. That curiosity and becoming your own advocate make it a challenge to solve, right? Keep on looking for the
Yeah.
solution, and
Yeah.
what's gonna.
So many times we think there's something wrong with us. And
Yeah,
so
that's
white
right.
knuckle through every single day. We're like, well, we're not
Yeah,
trying hard enough. Our willpower isn't there. And then that's not true, right? I mean, you look at
exactly.
your whole entire life. Are you functioning as a human being? Are you raising your children? Are you going to work? So it's
Yeah,
not the willpower that's the issue. You just haven't
yeah,
the right combination for your health. And so you have to kind of step back and take your hands off and you're like, okay, God, now open
yeah.
the door where I'm supposed to go.
That's right. Well, it was such a pleasure to chat with you and have you on the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Megan. It's a pleasure.